Hi everyone, I'm Emily Judd, and tonight I'm here with parents from Washington Primary School at their monthly PTO meeting. And today we're going to be talking about the vision and mission work that has been going on through the district. So I'd like to share with you that work tonight. So one of the things I'm going to be doing tonight is just sharing the process with you of what we've been doing with the mission and vision. I'm going to share with you some draft statements. And then I'm going to sort of ask you to give some feedback so that we can take a look at what we have to date and revise it in ways that meets everyone's needs. So the staff began this process in June last year. We had some early release days, and on one of the days, the staff, which included certified staff and non-certified staff, came together, and we did some breakout groups with them and had them answer some very specific questions regarding mission. And the questions that really get at mission are, what is our purpose? And the question that gets at vision is, what do we hope to become? So one is about the work that we do every day, and one is about what we see ourselves looking like in the future. And then from that work, we gathered some very thoughtful information, lots of very good information. And over the summer, the administrative team kind of looked at all that information and began to sort of analyze it and sort of synthesize it because it was so much. And so we were able to come up with what we thought several mission statements and vision statements. And then we brought that to our instructional leaders in the district. And from there, we began to break it down to even smaller amounts. We also were able to present some of that information for feedback at a district PTO meeting in December. And then from there, we did a little bit more work at the administrative level, and the Board of Education had a quick view of it and also provided some feedback in early January. So now what we're doing at this point is reaching out to larger groups of parents through the PTO meetings at each school, and also bringing it back to the staff and getting their feedback as well. So it's going through quite a lot of sort of looks so that we get to a point where we all feel that we have a shared vision and a shared mission. So that's our goal. And I think, why are we doing this is a really important question to understand. Education is obviously going through lots of different changes. I mean, we're talking about the Common Core coming before us, and I think Region 12 has gone through some changes, especially with the consolidation of the middle school, high school becoming one, and re-looking at, what it is that we're all about, and re-looking at our current mission and vision. So it makes me think of this sort of quote that I love. It says that as human beings, our greatness lies not so much in being able to remake the world as in being able to remake ourselves. And so when we look at all the change that we're going through, I really see it through the lens of transformation, where we're really looking at reassessing, redefining ourselves, and sort of remolding into something that we all share. And I think when we have a shared purpose, we're all making decisions and doing things in unity. So I think that's what we're after. One of the last statements I think is important to understand is, I think that as an educational community, we very much value continuous improvement. So we value that reflective cycle. And I think that I want you to keep that in mind as you're seeing all the other work that we've come to kind of have at the moment. So the vision statement states at the moment, and this is a draft, remember, and it serves to answer the question, what we hope to become. So it states, the Region 12 learning community teaches, challenges, and inspires all students to become courageous, creative, and compassionate individuals who are empowered by knowledge, character, and perseverance to achieve their greatest potential within the global society. Now, a vision statement seeks to almost like energize. So it should evoke some kind of emotion or capture you in some way. And it does seek to think about, what it is that we want to do in the future, so become in the future. So it's kind of our guiding light, okay? And so what I want you to do tonight is to read that silently again to yourself, and I want you to think about words that jump out at you, things that you think are really striking to you. And then I'd like you to think about, are there any other considerations that you might want to help us, relook at? And after that point, I'm going to have you sort of work in small groups to do that. Okay, so there's a piece of paper and a marker, and it looks like we can probably be in 3 groups. So I'll give you a minute to look at that. And I'll go back to in a second, but I just want to review what I'm hoping to do. So what words or phrases communicate a sense of direction we are seeking to create? And what questions or comments do you still have? Okay, so keep those 2 focus points in your head. And I'll go back to that. So I'm thinking that maybe the 4 of you could work together, and maybe the 3 of you, since you're right together, and here's a piece for you, and then the 4 of you. Sound good? All right, and so we'll just work maybe for about 5 minutes at the most, and then we'll come back and share out. So anything that strikes you as very interesting, sort of evokes a sense of direction, and then the second piece is any considerations, questions, okay? All right, so when we get started there, and talk to each other about that. Jesus Christ. Yeah. She's used to doing it.
Hi, good, how are you?
Okay.
That's pretty good. And she stays right
Yeah.
So we're doing something. I know
I really like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
I guess like
What's that?
just the very first part when the teachers challenge
There's
like
like
empowered is
that
a word.
because I think that has a,
Empowering and
like the teaching is something that comes to the
do you
kids, the
understand
challenge is
what you're
something that you're asking of the kids, and the inspiration
Right,
is something
because
that comes
you're-
from within them, and it seemed like those 3, I like that particular
So what
way to
jumps
put
out?
that.
what
It's kind of
even if you need challenges,
gets at all the
when
different
Yeah.
ways
how
that
to
you
keep going.
I really like what strikes us and then
can fostering ability.
I don't know, I think something that's sort of thing that the teachers tell them to make sure they get the things first. I don't know what I'm supposed to write.
I don't know what we're supposed to say. Giving
What
kind
is
of
it
impressions,
invoking
yeah.
us? I mean, obviously you shared that you liked it.
Courageous, creative.
I mean, I think just because to me, it's like it kind of gets at all the different ways that, you know, knowledge comes to somebody. I mean, it's like some ways it's given to you, in some ways it's kind of you're asked to kind of find it for yourself, and in other ways it's just kind of
like
feeling
visual.
inspired.
So one of the things that you could do just to help us out is when you set up your paper where the top part can list the things that you really do appreciate about the statement,
Okay.
and then underneath write the questions that you may have so that we can kind of view that. Yep. Okay, that would be really helpful. Does that help
Okay.
you as
Right.
well? Okay, good.
What we appreciate.
Right, I think
Yeah.
like you said, it's not so much geared toward the educational aspect.
So like, for
but it's
example,
making
one of the
us
words that jumped out
good
at, say, the
individuals.
staff, they really like, you know, when they, like, courageous for them, like jumped out, like that's a really powerful word, you know? So thinking about the words that just really speak to you, I think that's what a vision should do. And then write those kind of comments down, and then secondly, look at it through the lens of, you know what, is it missing anything, or did we not consider something that needs to be there, or does something feel a little confusing? That will be really good feedback for us, okay?
So empower is one of our words. The other
Compassionate personally.
Okay.
Compassionate, I think it's not only a race to teach, it's not only a race, it's really important to create peace and unity.
Right, I agree. Yep.
Right.
That's
I like perseverance.
Yes, I was just
I mean, we should probably each, you know, write our own list in terms of what's, you
It
know,
is not geared
what's
to
most
Right.
important to them.
right.
I
education.
mean, to me,
As the whole, as it is becoming, right,
Right.
which could be different,
So many
it could be different
areas,
for-
and especially
right.
with the
No.
knowledge.
Right.
It's something they'll need their whole life.
But not only for each individual.
Courageous,
need,
it's
it's
perseverance,
courage.
kind
Well,
of
carrot,
steps.
that's
really
right.
wanting
Yeah, that's one
everyone
word that
to
when
move
I read this,
at
I
the
try
same
to think
time.
of all the things that
Is
I
that
really
correct?
want my students to be like,
Um,
become assertive, and then I'm like, okay, which
keep
word there?
everyone kind of
creative to me
Yeah.
is kind of
Right.
plus. You know, I think not everybody is.
Yeah, well, I'm going to hear two questions, so I'm going to respond to
Inspire.
you.
So you would replace
That
it
the
with something
No, I
else,
wouldn't
right?
replace it, I'm just saying it's not as important. Other words are.
that for academics and language arts.
Yeah,
and
no.
both of them.
I mean, they're all, yeah, they are a good choice of, right,
Right.
right.
So they describe everyone's issues, so they might say in mathematics, for example, that
All
they need to
children
know.
have such different
Everybody can
questions and
persevere.
certain-
Not, I don't
to
think
certain
everybody
degree.
can.
Okay,
persevere.
really, and your second
Everybody can
part
be
says keep them
compassionate, or
together.
whether you're
I do
compassionate.
believe the expectation is that we're
But they want-
teaching
they want
less
to
but
help.
deeper,
It's not just
and you
your
expect
neighborhood.
all
You're gonna
kids
have one
to
of them
meet
is,
those
Yeah.
expectations. It doesn't
Give them
mean
a
though
That's
that
true.
would
They
hold
might
back
try to
some
develop.
if they exceeded that. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that,
When you said that,
but
you can hear
but it is
it.
expected that all
just across the
students
board in your town.
meet that expectation of knowing information deeper. Does that
Okay,
make sense?
it does. It
Okay,
does.
so
That
we-
it was explained to me. I kind of felt like it was gonna kind of hold back the kids that could go
No,
for it.
no, and they're
Okay.
very rigorous, so you should be finding that, you know, your children should be expected to do more rigorous pieces of information. And I think that they will begin to voice that, especially with some of the examples that we're giving them for the new assessments. I think they're experiencing, wow, I really have to know this. You know, using multiple resources to be able to respond versus just using one resource. That's kind of a new skill.
Yeah, I mean, it
that we're
opens
trying
up
to-
their-
Yeah, but it wouldn't be, you know.
It wouldn't hold anyone back.
No,
Okay.
no.
How does that compare with when I raised my other two in the No Child Left Behind world?
How does it compare?
Or does it at all? It's a totally different plane.
Well, I think it's more about the set of expectations that,
Okay.
you know, I think that now there's more of a common set of expectations that, you know, states have come together and have agreed upon the Common Core state standards, so these standards are shared. So that's a really big difference. And with No Child Left Behind, there were different standards in different states based on
Yep.
what they decided. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So now there's a common piece.
Yep.
And I think the difference is the depth, that they're going deeper, less knowledge with greater understanding and application versus lots of information and knowing it more on a surface level. So more problem solving,
Okay.
more thinking about application. I think I'm answering it to the best of my knowledge, but.
But
Okay.
are we just teaching to a test?
We are going to meet
No.
or exceed, you know.
So moving away from that.
Well, the test should be just as rigorous as the standards. So
Okay.
that's always kind of, you know, a strange,
balance.
yeah, you know, I mean, if the test is developed really well and it activates the standards very well and reflects that, then it's a really good test. So are we teaching to the test? Well, certainly we are if we have a really good assessment. So,
Right.
yeah, but I don't think
not
that
rote.
it's not rote. You're not going to walk into the classroom and say, "Here is the test." Now you just, you know,
This is
learn
what we
how to take that
studied.
test.
Right.
It's going to be using multiple ways of thinking to be able to do well on the test.
Okay.
So it should be just as rigorous.
Don't you think that's like going back to where you started a long time ago in education, the Common Core? Where you're using more of a deeper understanding of what you're learning. I guess using common sense, using creative ways to try and find answers or learn answers rather than just know the answer and move on.
I think critical thinking, as long as education has been around, has been an important aspect of teaching and learning. So I don't think that that has ever changed. I do think, though, that what we're asking of students at different grade levels does look different.
Okay.
I do think we're asking them to really apply knowledge in new ways and begin to synthesize and analyze at earlier levels, and the tasks that they're doing are much more authentic. So I do think there might be
Okay.
some changes there, but critical thinking and problem solving has always been part of education, so I don't think that has changed.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So let's be thinking about any considerations that you might have for that
Right.
statement.
Right.
Okay.
It's every-
All right, how are we doing over here?
Everyone that's involved in that.
We're getting there.
You're getting there? Okay, good.
Good, and I think we should.
I'm going to come over to that side. How are we doing here? Good?
I mean, the words are, what the good words are pretty obvious.
Yeah, I think if you start, I mean, I put support in that. If you start adding things, it's gonna you pull it out. It's already pretty long. I don't think you'd want it any longer.
Okay, maybe just a couple more seconds or so.
You don't.
Come together.
I love the word responsibility.
How would you, so what adjective should we use?
Kind of
for
Do you guys feel like you're
Yeah.
finished?
thorough?
You do?
Character
Yeah,
responsibility.
we think it's
No
pretty good.
considerations.
Yeah.
I know, you're saying good. Yeah, you like
The
it?
words are
Okay.
good, it's and we don't want to add anything more
Yeah.
to it. It'll just
Yeah.
lengthen it and.
Do you think there's something missing when you say we don't want to add anything more to it?
No, I think it's clear and concise, and if you start adding to it, it's gonna start drawing it out. I
Yeah.
think
And I think it
it's
can be
very.
redundant without being, I mean, you can say things different ways, but if you're just adding redundancy, it doesn't.
Right, like we've said, supports, but that's really basically teaching and challenging and inspiring. Supporting are all those words, so why throw another word in there?
Exactly. Okay, good. All right, so let's come together
So
and
we're
I.
questioning
Go ahead, finish your thought.
by not.
No, I think,
Just have her come right in your group, maybe? Okay. Okay, so what I thought would be helpful is just kind of share out what you think were positives of the statement, and then maybe some considerations. So let's just start with that. This group wants to start with the positive things that jumped out at you that were really, you know.
So, some of the words that we enjoyed reading in the statement were empowered. We liked that, allows responsibility for people that are reading the statement. The global society, that was one of the words that I personally really liked. I liked the idea of not only, doing things within our community, but understanding how they affect and challenge us throughout the entire world as a whole.
We talked about like the difference between just writing community there and instead purposefully choosing global society because we felt like it encompassed a broader purpose.
Challenge, for obvious reasons. As we continue to grow and learn, we want to be challenging. Courageous, I think, was one of the words that us, we as a group, really liked. Challenges.
Did I have it
We have it
twice?
twice.
Sorry.
And inspires. Those were the words that we all.
Ashley, did you share it with the whole group? No. Share your fabulous
Oh, that's down here.
observation, which is great.
My consideration when I first read the statement was that I really liked what it doesn't say just as much as what it does say. I think it really focuses on the values of a person as a whole, as a person within the global society and the community, and not so much on particular goals or achievements for a person or a group. I liked that it was really focused on and character rather than academic goals.
Thank you. Okay, this group? Who's going to share? Bill, you going to share? Or?
Sure. Interestingly, the words that we wrote down were none of those. The ones that jumped out at us were compassionate, perseverance, and character. And I guess the most important words to us are those things that everybody can have and do. And, it doesn't take a special skill to do. Everybody can be compassionate. Everybody can persevere. Improvements. We thought maybe rather than it saying that, rather than saying you can teach kids to become creative, I'm not sure you can. Some kids are more creative than others. Mm-hmm. So maybe it should say something like, inspires students to develop their creative individuality or something like that.
Use creativity or,
So just develop it rather than I don't think you can teach it. You can develop it.
just if there's an order of importance, I would put compassionate before creative. Courageous, compassionate, and then creative. To me, compassionate is more important than creative. Just my
We did not see it as an order,
No.
but that's a good point.
Right.
Someone might read it as an order. So if you would you just jot that down? Just put order with a question mark. That will help me remember.
Yep.
And okay.
Then there was one other thing. We were talking about thoroughness. I guess taking pride in your work, and rather than just doing your homework and saying, okay, that's good enough, to actually take pride in it and do it thoroughly. I don't know if that fits, we were trying to find an adjective for that. We
Or
were having
striving
trouble
to
with
go
it.
beyond, maybe also.
Write that down, and I want you to remember that as we move on to see if we capture it somewhere else. But write that down, okay? Very good, thoughtful comments. Anything else?
I think that was it.
Okay, so order and write down, you have the creative piece there, right, already? And then lastly, what you just shared
Okay.
in terms of perseverance, or I'm wondering if perseverance picks that up a little bit, sticking to something, being thorough, but it may not capture exactly
Or
what you're
really
thinking.
presenting your best self always.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that being a way of doing that in your work.
Right.
As in anything, so really just allowing that to make sure.
I think it's a little different
It's nice because that statement that you just made, presenting your best self always, often encapsulates those
Right.
other things that might be more specific to say, like you said, one child or another, but that encapsulates what we want all children to be, their own best
Right.
self, which can sometimes encompass those adjectives and sometimes encompass different adjectives that are also very strong and worthy.
Very good. So you can write that down, Bill, too.
I actually missed that.
Your best self.
Presenting your best self
Just-
always.
That's a nice phrase, so.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome. Okay, how about this group?
You want to talk?
Talking about everything. Well, we like the words teaches, challenges, inspires. We sort of threw the word supports in there, but then we thought, well, teaching, challenging, and inspiring is supporting. So we like the fact that it was individualized to the person, as already been stated, as opposed to an academic issue. It was more individual personhood. But we felt that it was very well written and encompassed pretty much everything you wanted to say, although people had great additions. We just felt that we didn't want to add to it because it was well thought out to begin with, and we don't want it to get any longer.
Right.
We want it to be simple and concise, and I think we all got the meaning behind it right away. It was pretty thorough.
Okay, all right, great. And any considerations? No, right? Okay, good. All right, so those of you just came in, we were just reviewing a draft vision statement and giving some feedback, positive and sort of cool feedback, just help us with further revisions. Okay? So you can join a group, you don't have to sit back there. So maybe one over here, and I don't know, if you want to scoot by here, that'd be great. Okay. All right, so the next part was a bit more challenging for the staff and the leadership team, in that the question is about our mission, which says, what is our purpose? And I think the struggle with that one was that we wanted to use some of the same words as that was in the vision statement. But a mission statement is a bit more sort of nitty-gritty. It's about the work that we do each and every day. Why do we come to work? Why do we do what we do every day? And so it serves to kind of define why we exist and what our purpose is. So we had several statements for the mission statement, and as we got as close to the district PTO meeting, we had, I think, 6 or 7 at that point, and it was a bit overwhelming. And there was a lot of great feedback that actually sparked the next step for us from that PTO meeting, in that we decided, well, let's just get right to the nitty-gritty. Let's just say what we do. It's not really a sentence per se, but it just helped us focus. So we actually then took all the information that was great in all of those 7 mission statements and pulled out sort of the key words that kept on just repeating over and over again, and we came up with something that looks like this. So we decided that this is something that we're presenting for feedback, and it states that the mission of Region 12 is to optimize student achievement. We believe that's an essential aspect of our work, is that we want students to learn and be able to do the expectations at each grade level. Build a collaborative learning environment. We value collaboration and people working together to achieve common goals. Develop productive citizens, and engage in reflective practice. So we looked at these 4 pieces as essential, with the last one, engage in reflective practice, being something that sort of permeates everything that we do. Okay? So stay with me on this because I'm going to kind of bring you ahead and then bring you back to think about it. So what we decided to do then is move forward and say, okay, so if we think optimized student achievement is important, what were all those defining things that were in those statements that would support that? So we went from bringing it to this way to bring it down and then to bring it back out again. Could we categorize it, recategorize it, and would it make sense? So we were thinking that optimized student learning achievement would be having relevant and rigorous curriculum assessments that would support that. And people mentioned that that's important to us. Acquisition, demonstration of essential skills and knowledge, Common Core state standards. Engaging learning activities, that kids are really doing things in an authentic way. Focusing on higher level thinking and problem solving skills, really getting to the depth of knowledge in certain disciplines. Open to new learning, create, imagine, and innovate. And providing effective professional development and teacher support to make this happen. So that's how we recategorized and we said this is important to us, okay? So the next one we defined as build a collaborative learning environment. And this one is where we're promoting collaboration with students, staff, families, and community. That we're developing and demonstrating effective communication skills so they're able to collaborate. And that we have sort of this flexibility in thinking that kids can negotiate, so they can be collaborative. So we defined it that way. And then develop productive citizens. It talks about, individuals seeing themselves not only as part of a small community, but also interdependent with the larger community. So recognizing one's place in a global society, that interdependence, and sort of demonstrating this sense of integrity, empathy, self-discipline, responsible risk-taking, and perseverance within that situation. And then, so what I want you to do is kind of go back knowing that that's coming. Think about these 4 elements again, primarily the first 3, which are defined at the moment in a more specific way. And think about, again, what you see as positive things. So your goal is what you think is important in those bullets and what questions you still might have. So similar to the same exercise, but not things that jump out to you. Now what you think is important in those bullets. Is it really our purpose? Is that why we exist? Okay? So in your groups, take a few minutes and do that. And then if you want me to show you a frame, I can go back to that too, if you like, okay? Where it's defined. Good? All right. So can you write in the back of this paper by any chance? Yes. Yeah. Oh, we want you to be part of a group? Can you go into this group? But I'm wondering if Erin, if you can scoot over here and allow that space. Thanks.
Oh, I think she was talking to
Right here, and then she can join.
Sorry, I don't know why I thought it was at 6:30.
That's fine. She's fine. Just wanted to get one more person.
Yeah, I guess it's yes.
Well, I can tell you, I don't have we just concur.
You don't.
No, I like what it is. I like what it is. I love what's written about it, but I just don't like that word.
Is it very opportunity or was it opportunity?
The original word that was there was
the one thing I'm thinking
perseverance. And no one like that, but I have to say this was changed.
what type
And I
of
did all small changes.
I would have thought it
much
was
getting back to this. But
paper is it? Are they writing? That I think is key. Now with phones, computers, we're moving towards that, and I feel like we're going to lose that connection, that eye contact, and those important aspects.
we want to say.
Where does that go?
Collaborative learning.
Saying we're going to try to do the best that out of one.
Communication was
We're going to push it to a level that
when she blew up with that.
encourage you on
That's collaborative learning environment.
well, that's okay,
But not specifically, you're right.
One of the best that we can get out of it.
I mean, with like the kind of
Me
time.
too. Me too.
achievement. We can make it fit
Oh,
in the
okay.
sense of like using the correct type of communication via all of them, you know, like a, you know, computers and writing.
I think like you're right, like
Communication, when we say that, right?
This is the mission of the region as a whole.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Isn't there anything missing?
Yeah, it was more about like the whole person, like empathy and self-discipline.
She said.
Yeah, what did you say?
Yeah, you
Versus what?
maximize.
I mean, just use global systems because of, you know, like that we
child's optimal behavior or, you know,
I think it's individual.
But I mean, but I don't know, it just.
Yeah, right.
So that's what that said?
Like optimal almost
I'm not
has like
taking the
a, almost has like
productive.
a values judgment on it, like.
Which one?
Productive. It's better, I don't know.
Sounds kind of weird. Productive citizens?
No. Which one?
For which one? If we're like getting in on the words productive?
Go back.
You did? Oh, you said the same thing? Kind of like, I don't know what else you would say, but something. It seems like we should aim higher than just productive.
And the other, because you know, if you look
Like
at,
happy and
I don't know if it's
responsible.
supposed to-
Sounds like
right.
a
I don't know
robot.
if it's supposed to tie back into the vision statement or not, but in the vision, there was like compassionate,
Yeah.
courageous, whatever, and that, this seems like it's not
No.
How about,
quite
Like responsible, well-adjusted.
getting the most out of it. Bullet point, I don't think so. I
Yeah.
don't think
Kind of.
But productive can almost be that's job, which
Yeah, right.
It's like,
No.
but it seems like the other stuff is more aspirational, like.
Right.
Like
you know,
responsible.
Yeah.
I like
I don't know what else you'd say.
like we agree student achievement.
Something.
Student achievement
sounds good.
Well-rounded.
Yeah.
conscientious sort of a way
But
as
they,
opposed to.
in the bullets, then they're talking a lot about.
Confident, I mean,
Optimizing productiveness.
because then it's like you want something that's like opposite and whatever, there might be different levels or whatever, but that makes
The first one was
Keep thinking about it as a
citizenship, so recognizing oneself within the world.
No, engaging citizen.
Oh, an engaged citizen.
Engage.
Oh, yeah, like you said,
More in the
better to be
second
productive or to have a happy kid.
For the
Yeah, happy
questions,
kid.
should
Like
I
a
say
good lot.
consider
Yeah.
maximize
You don't want to just
instead of
produce like a
optimize?
machine.
like positive
Yeah.
or, yeah, or something, yeah.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Successful.
It almost gets to like what you were saying, like, you know, if you're just test or whatever, like, you can be productive.
Right, right. Trying to get at.
But that doesn't necessarily mean your brain coming out of that person.
Yeah, and coming back.
Could almost be collaborative.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Yes,
Because it was
we got away from talking about
It is.
the peers.
You gotta be responsible.
40, 50
Yeah.
years ago.
I think
What
that
they
could be
learned
improved
20
upon,
years
because
ago.
the
My husband and I were saying,
objective
did you read
is
in
not to
kindergarten? I
do
don't remember.
I was in
It's
kindergarten
to
exactly 40 years
teach.
ago. I remember nap time.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, sandbox.
I like
Sandbox.
You know,
I guess
Yeah. Well, they didn't have. I didn't go to nursery school.
Well, neither did we,
Right,
but
back
that was
then.
the level of
Yeah.
kindergarten.
These are goals for the
Because we're like,
teacher.
I was using it. I like it.
Oh, I know.
one of the things that
No, I haven't been.
It doesn't, I mean, then you get like, you'd be.
Oh, math problems, word problems?
No, it was like my dad is 45 and
Okay.
This is second.
whatever dad is
One of our main goals is academic.
Like if dad's 50,
Yeah.
so they do collaboration.
They round
That could just be putting your whole self in trying to piece of that. I'll go and I'm like, well, we're not. Did you go on the computer?
Right.
Productive is feeling that.
Productive is assembly.
Winter vacation.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah, it's like a robot. Like I'm on the production. I want to get a job.
Somebody told me how to do that. No, we can play the
If you were grouping that for your,
Yeah.
I was just.
Oh, I know.
We're like, what happened carrying the
Yeah, dynamic does that.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
They don't do it. They don't do it.
I need
Productive sounds like
They
they
should.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we want to do
Yeah, like a crash course. That's a good idea.
I sometimes feel like with stuff like that, like.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, like telling her like,
Yeah,
and
and
then she's
they're
gonna get
looking at
whenever
you.
they start doing it and
See,
she's
that's
like,
like
you know.
I'm talking about the last one.
I'm so far removed.
And the third are.
But we would agree that so should we say that we
Whereas
agree
the
that
second one-
citizens
But you can read
You don't wanna
The,
teach
the,
them
the
How
first
to
and third.
But at least if they gave you a sample, like a quick, like this
So it
is
doesn't
what,
seem
like even if they
to
put it on
be-
the table, like said, this is what we,
Yeah.
how we taught them, so then we could at least look at it
Because
and
the
not get
kids
them
are like,
confused.
that's, yeah.
My daughter gets
You've
mad.
been at my table?
Drop numbers and add them to make a 10.
That seems so confusing to me.
No.
Yeah.
I'm like, what up, you know, Johnny was in the store about 4 apples, he also bought 3 pears. How many fruits did he have? Now it's like,
Indicate that.
How many
Mine is
puree
4.
foods?
And I brought like word
The organic
like
stuff.
Claire's thing is like, oh, like that was one of her things.
Encourage.
She set for me,
Yeah.
like
Well,
the
you're
anxiety thing from
Right.
I just do that with numbers. Like, remember when algebra was introduced? It's like, words are beautiful
What word are
and
you
lovely, and then, why did you put that word, that letter with that number?
well, Sean was like, Sean's like, you're a nurse, like, you do like trips and like save people, and I was like, I can't do that.
I'm good at but what do we want this, let's go back to that, I want to bring you back to that.
Productive, we want them to contribute.
So what are we hoping to achieve during this productive citizenship thing? So maybe that will.
Engaging almost fits better.
Don't we want to like
Responsible risk taking.
Cultivate is a nice word instead of develop.
Yeah, cultivate. I like that word. 3 times I was
You're nurturing.
Do you want to see something different?
No, we were talking about
that. Okay, yeah.
So it almost
Me
it
too.
seems
I like
like
the
that
first
could be
one.
overridden to the second.
Yeah, that's what I was
Because
saying.
all of those things.
Yeah, because dynamic people
Inspire collaborators.
Cultivating is your working with them, but like you said, nurturing.
and it's communicated that the job is never done.
It's hard to know or develop.
Yeah.
I like that approach too.
Part of it and let them feel like
recognizing one's place. I don't know, kind of. So you would say nurture direct connection.
Well, cultivate and nourish. Cultivate and nurture is the same.
So I feel like
Because really, you're
What you contribute.
Growing and nurturing.
Yeah.
It's those either like.
But nurturing means that you're cuddling.
Yeah.
Right, so cultivate. Cultivate. Like I think.
Or maybe
Right,
like-
I mean, I do this. I like
The mission and the vision. It's just,
So how are we doing over here?
No, I like.
What was the, can you go back to the one?
Yeah, I get that.
for
nurturing other aspects of it for another.
We're totally
Nurturing, like, it wasn't just producing. What do you want? You're helping.
Because at the end of the day,
Build up to. Right, you're still learning. Now we have to go to opposite.
We said maximize.
Maximize. No, like.
safe and collaborative, like the environment.
You guys are having really thoughtful conversations, so I'm gonna give you a minute or so.
Safe
We didn't really talk
environment.
about what we thought was important, but I think we think all those things are important.
Yeah, I
We're
think
just
they're all
struggling
good.
with the verb.
I guess I don't really
I think safe is a
So
good
what
word only
should we
because
say?
I don't think everybody works on the same level.
So we all have a problem with
In order
productive
to be
citizens,
courageous
so we
in
don't.
learning, you
I feel
have
like
to
that
be
speaks
safe
to me a
enough to
lot.
be able to make a mistake or maybe not get the right
Take
answer.
risks.
Because I have daughters who are like Sally, it's just one way to learn it.
Right. And what went well for you, and what was hard for you.
Yeah.
Those
I
are
find that I just don't think she
We were
wants
gonna
to
ask a question about.
Yeah, she's gotten better.
The break.
I think she would
Yeah, talk about the risk taking
what's
and whatever.
important to us.
I like when you
Understand
those little pieces of paper.
It's not,
How question.
I don't think
What do you mean
those
exactly
bullets
about
are.
I guess my head's, I would have it.
But I do that with every writing,
But I think
project,
it helps like
every
bring life
project.
to what that.
Why are they
means.
separate?
Or do they gel together? Like,
They-
it's not
they
just
do
the
the
mission,
mission,
like, does the
so-
mission
But
actually,
I think
like,
the mission is
driving
overall,
forward the vision,
yeah.
whether, right, the vision, I know what it's
Exactly.
supposed to
Right.
be, but like, whether
And I
it,
see
in the context of the vision that we looked at, is this mission
But I don't
actually?
think.
You were saying,
It seems like
the mission
there
get
needs to be
first
more.
thing.
The mission is supposed to be kind of in service to the vision, right? It's supposed to be trying to how you're gonna make the vision happen, and I don't know if it's
no,
side by
it's your
side, but.
mission. I think your mission is
Okay,
your
let's
overall
come together.
mission.
You guys are really looking at this. I appreciate you being so thoughtful.
I think that's the other way
I thought it
around.
was the other way
Is that the way
around.
around?
The vision is what you're trying to.
Okay, so let's start with, we'll start with your group over there and what you thought were positives and maybe some things that you had some discussion about.
We're not sure if the vision is supposed to cause the mission or it's the opposite.
The vision is the future thinking, so that's
So
what
the
we
mission
expect
is
to be
how
at the
you
end.
get to there?
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Mhm. Anything else?
Oh, we're way back there.
No, we started with, you brought up the communication. Well, it was just kind of generalized as communication. We didn't know if that was verbal, is it writing, is it?
Oh, okay, for when we defined it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're looking at effective communication skills?
Mhm.
Okay,
I mean,
very
I
good
know
question.
you do the morning and everybody makes eye contact
Yes.
to each other, which I think is great.
Mhm.
But you start thinking as they get older with the computers and the texting and the, email, they lose that skill, I think more and more.
Right.
So to keep that a big focus.
Absolutely. And I think that I think that's an important point, because when you have something in your mission, that means that your choices that you do with students begin to bring the mission alive. So if I were a classroom teacher and communication skills is an important aspect of our region's mission, and also vision, it's in there, I believe we have that, right? That I'm going to be thinking about, well, how do I bring learning in the classroom that really causes students to be able to interact with one another in collaborative ways? So it's the projects I design, it's the grouping that I create, it's helping them learn how to, especially the younger, you can probably speak to this, is what they say to each other. So you're practicing sort of anchor statements that they can, say, okay, well, like you're piggybacking. I'm going to piggyback on so-and-so. That's a helpful way to get someone to begin to have discussion. So we teach it deliberately. So yes, it's important. Yeah, so those things drive what we do.
And then I guess going with that, I don't think safe is the right word, but it's more along that line. Like if you have a child that's not comfortable, like talking, and how do they just not get lost in that whole communication?
Right.
Right, I think that's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
And wasn't there something somewhere about risk taking?
Yes. Responsible risk-taking, I think it goes here.
Because I feel like that's what Kristen's talking about.
Mhm.
We also
Yes, I
had
think
the
that-
word optimize. I don't remember where it was.
It's,
But
mhm.
we thought maybe maximize would be more.
Yeah.
Copycat.
I think that's gonna be a common thing.
It's interesting people picked up on that.
And our other thing was the word productive. I don't know what you were saying about the happy.
I don't know, it just seemed like a lowball word.
Like
robotic. Yeah.
I mean, when you put the descriptions underneath it, it sounds better.
Right.
It sounds good, but then the choice of productive makes them sound like robots or something.
Mhm. Very good.
We had responsible, well-rounded, confident, all as words with productive, I guess.
Oh, to substitute it? To substitute or
or
just to be?
something.
To add to.
To add.
Yeah.
It said develop
Boost it.
productive citizens, so
Right.
you're saying to say what, develop productive citizens?
We don't really have any.
Oh.
But those are that's the thinking that you want.
That was the thing, so have a more kind of
Yeah.
like
Like
a
your
broader
idea of
sense
being
what it
productive
was.
might be total opposite of my idea of being productive. But if you're a well-rounded, confident person, if you're not as productive, but
I
it's
wouldn't brag to my friends. I have a really productive job.
They do laundry.
I
would brag about that.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else from this group?
nope.
Okay, how about this middle group?
We had a
Speaking,
problem with
Billy.
productive as well, and
Yeah.
we didn't come up with any adjectives to replace it, but
I like
But just not
well-rounded
comfortable.
actually.
yeah, well-rounded
Yeah.
sounded good to me too.
Okay. Very good. Anything else? Did you like anything?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No. It was there were strong points. Yeah, of course. The first one was very important. Of course, we like collaborative a lot. The only question I had was regarding building. Could I see the mission here, please?
This one right here?
Yes, to build a collaborative learning environment.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking build would go more for a vision because it's progressive, and instead I would suggest provide, because provide makes us feel it's already there and it's not a work in progress.
Oh,
All right.
good.
Yeah, this group
They had some ideas about that too here. Anything else? Is that good?
Just one observation I had, I mean, we didn't look at the fourth bullet at all,
Yes.
but the first and the third are ends, okay? You want your kids to be, good students and
Right.
good citizens. Whereas the second one is is the means to an end, not an end in itself.
Right. And it's a really good point. Can I come back to it after they share? Because I do want to give you some sort of frame in which it's there and we're just not sure where to put it, but it's so incredibly important. But I'll share with you where it once was, and then I wonder if that's going to be a better spot for it again. Okay. How about this group?
Okay, so we also talked a lot and grappled with the word optimize, and we came up with maximize too. So that's cool. But then we talked a lot about the develop productive citizens, and we toyed with the verb and with productive. So we came up with, this is what we came up with. We came up with cultivate dynamic citizens, that we want to, and we also talked about nurture, which we thought was a strong word, but we really liked cultivate dynamic citizens because a dynamic person grabs you, no matter what they do in their life, right? And to cultivate, that's something that we are working towards always. That job is never done as a person to be a good citizen, so. And cultivate was we're growing that, in elementary school, we're growing that actively. That's what we thought.
I just had a thought based on something they had said that we didn't actually talk about when you were talking about building a collaborative learning environment as something towards the future and not the here and now. That might be a place to put something like nurture, because you're taking care of something that already exists. So you're nurturing the environment that already exists, or not working towards it.
That's a different way of looking at it, yeah.
Right.
Good. Anything else from this group?
I don't think so.
Well, the good news is some of the things that you picked up actually were picked up at our faculty meeting, which you were at a workshop that day, so I'm glad you're here doing this with the parents tonight. So, productive was a word that sort of struck them as kind of needs to be changed, and so I think your feedback collectively is going to really help us, revise it in ways that make sense. Now, that last sentence is a tricky one because, as we're working together as a collaborative environment, our practice is that we're always reflecting on what we're doing, and we're always seeing how we can make improvements. And that's the cycle that we generally use even with student achievement. How do our kids do? What do they know? What are they not able to do? How are we going to adjust? It's that cycle that's happening all the time. And it happens in, educational organizations as a process. So one of the ways that we, thought to do this is sort of the mission of Region 12 School, or through continuous improvement, or through reflective practice, Region 12 Schools' mission is, So trying to get that sort of in the introductory phrase, because that's our sort of practice. And then this is what we kind of do with, as a result of that practice. So we played around with it at the beginning, and then some people said, well, no, it didn't seem that good there, and so we may have to go back and, sort of find a spot for it, but we just strongly believe that our work is really dependent upon our ability to be self-reflective and to make sure that we're analyzing and planning all the time for improvements. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So we're not sure where to put it, so that's why it just kind of seemed a little funny there.
Well, Tina
Okay.
talked about how that's important for kids to do too.
Well, I think we see it as the whole picture. We don't see it as just the teachers doing it. We see it as a level, like self-directed learning. The premise of that is the cycle of, thinking about something, planning it out, testing it out, making revisions, and starting the cycle. That's the whole thing. So that's what we do as teachers and educators all the time, and our students need to do that as well. That's life skills that you want your kids to have as they go off into their own careers, and their own futures. So where to put it, we're not sure at the moment. Yeah, okay? But that's a consideration. So, any other comments? Did I say something? Okay. So from here, what our goal is to take all of your feedback from staff and parents, bring it back to the leadership team, and hopefully by the end of February, we're hoping that everyone will have cycled in for PTO meetings and staff meetings, and sort of build another draft, but sort of close to being a final draft, and then bringing it to the Board of Education for input and possibly approval. Sound good? Okay. Comments? You were great tonight. Thank you very much. So I think the goal is that our work tonight is going to be shared with our parent group via our website. So you're welcome to view that when it gets posted. See how you did with us. So thank you for doing that. This is my first one, by the way. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.